There you are.
Get hello.
It looks like you got the same weather that we
Yeah,
got. How's
yeah. Crazy.
that?
It's
How's that possible?
super super cloudy. We have the same chemtrails probably.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Oh, wow, man. It's been a crazy day. So yesterday was a decision day. And a lot of people were making decisions, and sometimes making a decision is I've had four options and I'm no longer going to think about three of them. I'm just going to think about one of them. But yesterday, things were being brought up in people's lives to help them make decisions on their past, on the way they view things, what their values were. Did you have any of that going on that you can recognize?
So last night I had a phone call that went way longer than usual. It was about a business decision somebody else was making.
Sure.
And he was having a different.
And he was about to tell all the secrets. That's why. So what decisions did you have to make yesterday? Can you tell us? What decisions were being forced around you? What decisions did you see? Let's bring Raw back up. I'm now curious to know what it was that Raw was doing. By the way, we're indoors today because here we go. Awesome.
That was weird. It wasn't an internet. It was almost like I got exited off it. It said like, "Thank you for joining Human Garage Live. Bye bye."
Yeah, you know what? Weird stuff is happening like that. I'm not playing into like a conspiracy thing. I'm playing into when we are about to tell a truth, there always seems to be a weird thing. This happened to me last night when I was talking to a really famous chef who we're going to be working with for a food program. And right when we're getting to that peak of that conversation, boom, we get cut off.
Yeah, but I did have some decisions that have come up in the last, yesterday time frame, and just how I do things. Like like our ability to multitask. Like, do I focus on one thing? Do I focus on a lot of things? So it was just restructuring how I focus on all of my different projects, as opposed to waking up every single day and just thinking I have all this stuff to do. Just organizing that so that I have a schedule, so that either Monday through Friday I have different days where I'm thinking about certain projects, and then even hour blocks throughout each day focus on individual projects. That way I can do multiple things in my life, and I don't have to just do one thing and be all out obsessed with one thing. And I'm able to, because that's difficult for me. I want to do everything. I need to say no to things, but also it's like, how do I do more than one thing and do it well?
Yeah, it's segmenting. I mean, that's what Tracy's here helping me do right now. I've been dealing in the last year with using things like Calendly to book links, which puts the power in other people's hands, even though you have blocks of time. And it caused me to always have to be showing up in weird times for weird things. But now being able to segment blocks of our life away, that's the way I've always done it. But it requires to put in those blocks, and then eventually, Raw, you're getting so busy that you're going to have somebody assist you.
I met Tracy up there, right? It was like her second day
Yeah.
there. Tracy, yeah, she was impressive. How her workflow and how her brain thinks, and she's going to be super critical for you guys.
Yeah. I mean, she's a professional, literally a professional assistant. I
Yeah,
mean, she was interviewing for before us for like a princess, in a palace, in a royal palace, right? So and those are where it's about not having an assistant. It's about having somebody who can learn to think like you, and then learns to make values based decisions. So the idea is teaching people what the values are, because otherwise, then their values are making the decisions on what my time goes
mhm.
into. And that's a tough one. Where it was before is I was open basically for the last couple of years. I just show up and I do whatever comes throughout the day, and my time is being pulled in different directions. It's not very efficient, but it was what we had to do at the time.
Right.
So So now you're making it so that you're making a decision to follow what your heart wants, and then you're implementing something in order to make that happen.
Yeah, that sounds
Yes.
right. Yeah.
So yesterday's astrology was today's the day to make decisions on what your heart wants, not on what your brain wants. Don't make decisions about money. Don't make decisions about process. It's what does my heart want to do? And I mean, we had a couple of weird meetings that came. One of them that impromptu. We had two groups of people starting businesses around us, and one was doing completely heart based, and one was doing it not heart based. And it was so obvious. I was looking at it saying, I don't even have to. I don't even have to tune into this one. Like one's not going to work, and one is going to work, right?
Decisions. Yeah, decision. That word decision means to cut off. That,
Yeah,
yeah. So,
to
which
say
is
no
important.
to. It's not about
Right,
saying yes. It's to say
right.
no to.
Exactly. And when you say no to things in your life, you get to say yes to the things that really matter to you. And it's great that you highlighted what is your heart desire, because that's a very distinct difference that for some of us, if we're in our mind, we really have to consciously come into our heart and feel, and like you guys taught me, tune in,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Figure out if we're leaning forward towards it, if we feel. For me, it's a upward flow of energy, like I get
That's me.
lighter, or
Yeah,
leaning
yeah,
forward.
yeah,
Those two things, and then the no is heaviness or repelling,
yeah. Yeah.
which
So
is
it comes up in different ways. So one of them was I noticed yesterday very distinctly is that people had to get out energies from the past. So in this one meeting that we had, there was all kinds of people involved in the meeting, and there was resentment and anger that was in that energy pool, and people had to deal with it in a different way after they left. And a lot of it has to do with like a lot of resentment has to do with like I did everything I was supposed to do, right? But like I'm raising my I'm like one of them was I raised my kids the way I'm supposed to raise my kids. They said, "You do know you're on frame, right?" Lisa?
hi
No, no,
Lisa.
no. I'm just letting you know you are
Hi
on
Lisa.
frame there. It's like it's perfectly cool, but you're standing there. Looks like you're an action figure in the back. It's like a LARP.
There was no hustle in her step to get out of frame. She was just staying there.
Yeah, 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 you can totally do that. I just wanted you to know that I'm actually staring at your backside where you're. So, so what was funny about it? I'll move it over here next time. So we only got one door. So what I was observing is that the emotions that came out brought up situations like one was for Tracy is how she raised her kids and how she had to be there all the times and not follow her heart's desires. People go, well, that's just what you do with kids. And I said, well, no, that's the way society has made it. Society's made it that way so that you are raising your kid. It's like when kids are raised by a village in a community the way we're supposed to, then the parents have the autonomy and the opportunity to go do their things. But we've been my kids got to take care of them, and as a result, now yeah, you have to take care of them. And this is the greatest part about when I see Maxine around here, because Maxine interacts with our community. She has her time with each and every member of our community. And she goes and she does different things with them. Well, that occupies a lot of her learning and her desire to learn. And then the parents, like Aisha, isn't involved in every one of those conversations, which is even better because the child gets different reference points. And that's why Maxine is like learned a completely new language in like months and fluent, and not only fluent, but can understand tone and intonation and
Right.
jokes and stuff like that because she understands where they came from because she's talking to 10 or 15 different people on a regular basis.
Right. And that's that multi-dimensional capability to receive perspective and then filter it through different basically lenses of her perspective. And I feel like that's even important culturally Europe, for instance, if you go over there, everybody speaks 7 languages, and they've got a lot of influence from many different types of people. But here in the USA, we're kind of just like monocultured out, and we don't really have capability to analyze things from multiple perspectives and multiple lenses. And so what you're talking about is like at a micro level, but it even applies to a macro level of an
Yes.
entire civilization of
Yeah.
people.
Yeah, because it starts at the
Right.
micro. If I'm this way, I attract people around me. Somebody said it's hard to find a community that's healed enough to trust your kids with. And I'm like, that's what we are. I mean, literally. And it's a good point. I understand what you're saying, but I also want to point out that the people around me are a result of my level of consciousness. And
Always.
and if I'm having trouble finding a community of people, it's because I'm not healed enough inside. And that's part of it. And I'm saying this, I'm not saying it to pick on you who made the comment. It's a great comment because your comment is not, you're not alone in that comment. The majority of people say that. And it's not, it's like, I would say that over 85% of the people, 90% of the people, if you asked them, they would say that exact same thing. So it's a very common comment, but everybody's like that. And the reason why they're like that is because they're not healed themselves.
That comment gets said to me all the time, and almost like it's a victim type thing, right? They're looking at it's they hear Gary or me say these things. This live video is moderated. And then it's very, very easy to say it's hard to find a community that's healed enough to trust with your kids. Um, but it's up to you to create that. Like, you are the source of that community. So if you look around and you don't see like-minded individuals, then that's step one. Step two is create it, right? At
Yep.
least you're aware that there is a contrast between what you've currently created, because your current community is your creation of your mindset that maybe you're shifting out of now, and you don't realize that you were perfectly in harmony with everything in your community maybe a year ago, or maybe 5 years ago, or maybe 10 years ago, when you stepped into what you've created around you now. And now you're sensing, like, instead of being the victim, go back and realize how you created what is now, and give yourself permission to create anew.
So
And
here's
that,
one. Live More Consulting says it's not actual science. You can be healed and surrounded by unhealthy people. So I mean, there's a couple ways to take that comment. What do you say?
you can be healed and surrounded by unhealthy people. I mean, I like to look at everybody not as just like black and white like this, right? Like,
Sure.
I'm healed, they're unhealthy, and look at everybody as a progression. And so if we're categorizing ourselves as healed, it's assuming that there is a progression, there's an evolution of self. And as long as that we can accept within ourself that we're a progress, a work in progress, and that we're making, quote, mistakes that in the future we're going to realize they're mistakes. And when we look around at others, realize that they're all in a progression as well, and have grace for them, just like we have grace for ourselves. And it's more of a, it's, if we're going against them, if we're labeling them as unhealed, that's kind of going against the grain, and it's not really allowing and giving them capability to grow in your mind. And it doesn't mean that we have to hang out with them or spend all of our time with them, but acceptance is available for us when we look at others who are even doing things that we are repulsed by.
So what I hear you saying is healed is not a state of being. It's not a place to go. Because the day that I think I am something, the universe will show me that I'm not.
Correct.
And so the healed implies sick or broken, and this is why I didn't like the word healer, and I don't like the word, like healing. I used as a euphemism sometimes to communicate to people, but true healing is to realize that there was nothing to heal. It's a lesson. It's a learning, and I asked for the lesson. So I'm in a journey of experience in which I ask for it. So if I'm asking to be healed, that means I wanted to separate myself from that experience. I don't. And that's where the sickness comes from. Is like, I know I'm different than that. I don't want to be a part of that. That's where sickness comes from. It's me, because that's making a judgment too. And when I make a judgment, whoa, the universe comes at me.
Right. There's that quote, I forget who said it, but somebody asked a guru or a philosopher, like, how do you treat others? And the answer was, there are no others. Right.
Yeah.
So, and in dream science, how I was taught, like in psychology and in university, is that when you look at a dream and you analyze a dream, all of the different characters in the dream are an
Are
aspect of you, right? Because you're the only one dreaming. It's all happening within you. So all of those characters are you. And you can expand that into actual life as well. This is our experience. We are responsible to it. We are responsible for our relationship to everything within our own fault or blame. Responsibility just means I'm able to respond, right? Responsibility. And so we are responsible for how we receive others. And that's where we get to choose our level of consciousness, our level of awareness. Are we judging out of fear and lack and anger, or are we accepting and joyful and seeking harmony within the environment, and also having that door open to grow? We don't have to take everybody with us.
Yeah, and so what I do is it's a constant feedback mechanism. The life we live in, I chose every situation in this life to give me the feedback so that I would know how to navigate myself through this life. If I pick you up, what I've learned through astrology, and I know it so well, if I pick you up, Ra, and take you and put you in China, within a matter of hours and days, every influence that you have astrologically that you have in your life here shows up over there. I know because I've verified that literally in my life and the lives of others. Like literally hundreds of times we do this. We just show, well, there's your mom, there's your dad, there's your brother, there's your, and we show that those energies will show up because those are the energies that allow us to function. And so people, what if you get put on a desert island? The animals have energy. They'll show up. They'll be the ones that hang around, piss you off, come cuddle with you, whatever it is, steal your food. There to create the experience that we want. And it's an ever evolving process. And the way that I know where I am in my process, if you want to call it healing, is I look at my reflection. Because what we were talking about last night is we went through a journey from 2020, living together, working together to build this community. It started off. And we looked at our reflections. And when we got a reflection, we were like, we didn't like that. We didn't like the people that showed up. We didn't like the situations. We didn't like what happened. We didn't like the frustrations. And by the way, if you're in our lifestyle artist program and you're past level one, you can actually go back and see us. You can see us having issues with community members. I mean, it's right there. We document it all because we don't want anything to be hidden. We want people to know that this experience is a constant feedback mechanism. And the way I know how I'm doing is I look at who shows up in my life. And if I keep having problems and sadness and shames and guilts and angers and frustrations show up in my life, it's because it's still in me to come out. Otherwise, I won't have it in my experience. That makes me responsible for my experience.
And if you are going through difficult processes, it's because you're strong enough to deal with them. Otherwise, it wouldn't be happening to you. And
Absolutely.
and when this is a lot easier to take in when you consider the possibility for reincarnation, right? Which is what you're alluding to when you're talking about different connections and astrological signs, that we're going through cycles of lifetime to learn different lessons and to evolve as either an individual being or a collection of beings. And so if you're so attached to this lifetime being, how you envision it, and perfect, and rainbows and butterflies and vacations on the beach, and you see other people have that, and you see that yourself doesn't, and you're under the influence that you only live once, it can be really dragging down of your soul and your psyche, because you see what you desire and how you're not going to get it. Apparently, like everything things apparent to you that you're not going to have that. And there is a little bit of comfort you can have in the trust that this is the experience that you're having this time. You're the race that you are, you're the sex that you are, you're the sexuality that you are, you identify as this now. And currently existing, there are other versions of you who are living different life experiences. And we're here now. And enjoy it. We're here now. We're learning. Like, take as much from this experience as you can, because that's all that there is.
So that's
And
why I went and found all my doppelgangers. I found, as you know, you've seen, I've had people that look identical to me, have the same astrology right down to the number. They have the same life circumstances, just in a different body and a different people. And not just one or two. I've got like 80 of them in a room. And I watch them and I talk to them. And it's like, I got a pain in my back. They got a pain in their back at the same time. They didn't even know. And there has to be more to this picture. There has to be more.
Mhm.
Because if it was as simple as it was described below, like they have, for example, the people are like, well, why is there pain and suffering? Well, there's pain and suffering because we believe it's pain and suffering. It's like if I'm going to go and put my body through pain to get a better body, I don't call that pain and suffering. I call that working towards something. I'm doing something to achieve something because I want to. But if I have that same kind of pain and tiredness and waking up each day and I can't move, like if you watch guys in gyms, right? They walk downstairs and it's like they can't even walk downstairs after doing legs, right? Now, they did it, but they went and did that so that they can have something more. Now, that same person, if they couldn't walk down the stairs in the morning when they got up, they would be complaining.
That's our ability to accept effort. And this is an effortful existence. And yeah, there's different ways to come across a mountain, right? You can complain that you have to climb it, or you can be excited to
Yeah,
climb it. And that doesn't mean that you're not scared, or that you're not uncomfortable. It's just a willingness to live. This is life. This is why we're
yeah,
here. And we do get stronger, not just in the gym. We do get stronger and more capable as a result of our challenges. Like smooth seas, I forget the exact quote.
yeah. I know what
Um,
you're saying.
Smooth seas don't make a
Good
good
sailor.
sailor, or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. It's because we came for experience. We didn't come for. We were sold a lie that we're supposed to have a white picket fence and everything's supposed to work good. If it's not that, then there's something wrong. That's actually a narrative. That's actually a belief set, which is incorrect because without there's not one part of the human existence that actually works without resistance. We breathe the single breath that we take, we draw air in and we create pressure again inside of our body against external pressure, creating resistance, only to let it go. Every part of this life has resistance. That's how the human body, the human experience works. We resist, we push against resistance of some sort, right down to the breath.
right. There's that quote by Jim Carrey: I wish everybody could be rich and famous to realize that it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like, because everybody's looking and thinking, I will be happy when, right? I will be happy when I don't have to deal with this challenge anymore. Realize that there is a point that you said, I will be happy when you're currently in your existence right now. I was talking to somebody, he lived on like Abbott Kinney. You know where that is? In an apartment there. Living right now because it was a 2-bedroom apartment. He was sharing a room. He was sharing a 2-bedroom apartment with another person. He had his own room. And I was like, hey, do you remember when you were living in your homeland and this was the dream? I mean, you're living off Abbott Kinney, like on Abbott Kinney in Venice, like perfect weather year round. Do you remember when this was your dream? And he was like, yeah. I was like, so like, how did you go from dreaming about this to being unhappy with this situation? And that's what we're doing when we're unhappy. We don't realize that we dreamed this all up. And we're currently living our dream that we had in the past.
So I have because people ask me, by the way, Mike Bledsoe says hi.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
I talked to him yesterday talking about decision days. um, yeah. And he goes, because we were laughing, he goes, and Ronnie.
for
So,
those of you who don't know, Ra is short for Ronnie.
yes. So one of the things that happened when I was in prison, there was the 17 months that I was in solitary confinement. That was rough. I mean, I wanted every moment to not be there. I never found a moment where I was okay. But there was a moment when I knew that the journey of possibly being politically locked up for 40 to 80 years was going to come to an end. I knew that I had a target time. We were negotiating my way out. And I was, and then I further knew that I was going to be in a couple months. It was coming to an end. And I remember my entire life since I was 9 years old, I have worked every day. I've been responsible. I've been trying to achieve, move ahead because that was the goal. That's what I thought I was held to standard. And I held myself to that standard. I would get up in the morning at this point. At this last stage, I was in a camp, in a federal camp, and I would get up in the morning. I would go eat my breakfast. I would go back, listen to some radio. Then I would work out. I had no responsibilities, no jobs, nothing, because I'm on my way out. And then I got up from a nap. So that's when I started napping, first time in my life. So I started napping midday. I'm like, I'm going to try this out. I've got all the space to do it here. So I started napping in my midday, and I got up from my nap, and I was about to go out for my second workout. And my buddy had, bootlegged illegal chocolate in there from outside. Really wealthy guy. He owned the San Jose Sharks. That's who I was in with in the end, one of the owners. And I went into his locker, grabbed some chocolate, and I was eating it, getting ready to go up for my workout. And I thought I had this moment of being completely grateful. I was taking care of my body, I was taking care of my mind. I didn't have to go anywhere or do anything. I got to do what I wanted. At that time, I'm really in the confines of that restriction. I can't leave that spot. But I had this moment of happiness, of appreciation for where I was. And that's when everything changed in my life. That's literally the turning point. Because if I could find appreciation and happiness in the worst spot of my life, then from there, there's no other, I could be happy in other parts of my life because I had this life where I should have been happy. I had millions and millions of dollars. I flew all over the world. I had hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of cars. I had the wife and two kids. I had all of the things that you were supposed to define happiness, but I wasn't happy. And here I was, I'm in prison eating chocolate, waiting to go work out, and I found happiness. And that for me, that was my turning point. That was the time when everything changed.
Right. What I hear from, and thank you for sharing that, because that example was needed, right? Because it's really easy for us to say that, when you're in Cancun right now, and everybody gets the notion that it's easy for you to be happy, but they don't realize that, like, we have stories of, like, we have been through pain as well, and that's how we had to wrap our heads around, how is this existing? Like, what is the purpose of this? And we can come to these conclusions as a result of us going through it. It's not like we just read this in a book somewhere and then just like spewing it out. And what I'm hearing when you say that is that it was a it was a creation of yours. It sounds
Yes,
like there had to have been a longing for relaxation, for slowing down, for stopping, and
there was. It was. Hold on one second, Rob. Okay, I'm going to go off for a second.
you're breaking up right now.
We got rained
Specifically,
out.
what
We got
time?
rained out here. We got rained out so I had to go. And it flipped me off the internet. So
Yeah,
and yeah, so you're right. It's because I mean I remember when I was there, looking at people who were not in solitary confinement, knowing that they're playing cards with their buddies and thinking, wishing I could be there. And then
right.
and then wishing I could be out with my family and my kids. And and you have all of these things. And I had one other moment of happiness, which was surprising. So we during the pandemic, I couldn't work. So I get out, I'm working for another 10 years, and then a little more than 10 years, and the pandemic comes. Now I had worked 6 days a week, 60, 70, 80 hours a week, trying to figure out this issue with my body, my life, and healing myself because I wasn't healed and all that crap. And then the pandemic came and I couldn't touch anybody. I mean, it was perfect for me because nobody wanted to be touched. It wasn't like I was saying no. It's like I literally nobody would even book an appointment at that time. So this is the beginning of the pandemic. So we used to ride this like Segway around. Cynthia and I used to ride this
That's
Segway all through
an
town. And
interesting cycle too, because it was, roughly 2 years of no work as well. And what was it? 12 years later, 11 years later.
12 years, exactly. It's a Jupiter cycle. It's a story repeating every 12 years.
Yeah.
That's the next point of it, the astrology of it. So yeah, exactly. Because I'm locked away, but this time locked away in a different way. Like I have no guilt about it, no remorse. I'm just like, okay, it is what it is. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. And we're riding on this Segway. We used to like double up, pair, tandem, and ride on this Segway everywhere and all over town. And I'm riding. It's middle of the night. We just kind of got off this wooden jungle gym thing where we're running around. And I stopped the Segway coming up the street, and I said, "I'm really happy right now." And then it dawned on me: if I'm happy right now, then what was I before?
You're asleep.
And this is where the healing thing, going back to the healing thing earlier, it's a progression of experiences. You're never healed, and you're never truly happy, and it's always a progression. It's an experience. And if I treat it as I want to be somewhere else, then it creates judgment, distension, fear, anger, guilt, resentment, and just accepting the experience as it is and looking around me and going, what am I going to learn today? And there's some days that they were shitty, man. There are like some days I woke up and it's like I was writing when I was in solitary confinement. I wrote 1,000 reasons why it was good for me, why this is going to change my life. I mean, that's what I wrote. That's what I did with my 17 months.
You could probably publish that. I mean, Viktor Frankl published Man's Search for Meaning, which is based on his times in the concentration camps during World War II. But I want to say that I have one of those moments where I looked around, and I was with Adam, and we were slacklining in Santa Monica on the beach, and it was foggy. So it was like the whole beach was covered in fog. You could barely see like 100 feet. It was a really weird day. And I remember just looking around and just thinking and just realizing like, wow, like life is perfect. Like that. And I thought about that yesterday, which is funny we were talking about this, because it's good to have those memories of those realizations burned in our psyche and to pull them up as just a memory, as a remembrance to go back into that, because it's really easy every day to think about the bills and all of the challenges. Yeah, so we all have these scenarios where we realize that we are happy, and it's good to be able to push that button every once in a while
So
to bring that back.
what I learned was, the takeaway as I come forward, because I've gone through multiple versions of that since then, I have less than I've ever had in my life right now. Like I don't own anything. I don't have a driver's license. I have a passport and a birth certificate. I don't have any other picture ID. I have shirts and some shorts. I literally pack everything, and you've seen it. I am the happiest that I have ever been. And 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 one of the ways to define happiness for me is the lack of obligation, the ability to do what I want when I want, to choose. And I choose to do things which are sometimes tough and hard and painful and not convenient, but I'm not obliged to do it. I don't have to anymore. I choose to do it. And because I choose to do it, I do it more often and I have more experience out of it. When I had to do it, I'm like, no, I don't want to. Don't get me
Yeah,
out of bed.
you're dragging your
Yeah.
feet through it. And right now you're a high performer with a smile. And it's consistent every single day. And like I've spent days with you,
Yeah.
and there's like the amount of life force that you exude to light up a room is tangible and it's felt. And I know that's, why everybody appreciates watching you on here, is because you can keep that prana high as a result of you being in alignment with what you're doing every day.
Yeah.
And it's that alignment that gives us that will to go through life, and just keep moving forward, keep evolving.
Yeah. Yeah. It's alignment. And it's, what I love about what you're doing is you're following your heart right now. It's like, because things don't always make sense. Like your estate sale. Let's sell it all.
Right. Yeah.
It's like who does that? Yeah, like I do, but the majority of people don't. They're so scared that they're not going to get what they want out of life. They hold on to every last moment.
That's a good exercise too. Like when you're making a decision, okay, what's the decision I would make if I was fearing a certain outcome? What's the decision I would make if I would trust that it's going to work out exactly as it should work out for the benefit of all? What's the decision I would, if you put yourself in different consciousness states and then like almost like just pretend, what decision would I make if I knew I were capable, right? And that might offer you some insight, and you realize that like, oh, I am capable, I can do this, because then you can just break it down into steps, and then eventually that won't be necessary. You just are capable, and decisions even just kind of happen on their own as a result of you harmonizing things to you based on you. And then you realize that like if you do get into a difficult decision, you realize how you created it. You're like, oh, I've been being a certain way, and so now I'm up against this fork in the road, and this is reality telling me, hey, we're confused on how you've been behaving. You're thinking this way, you're acting this way, you're feeling this way. What direction are you going to go? And that's what I think is the reason for those pivot times in your life, is because you've been a little bit chaotic with your thoughts, your actions, and your emotions. And reality is like, hey, we need to get back to like, who are you? Like, who are you? So we can get a proper reflection in reality.
Chaos is growth, man. And pretend is like when I show up and do something, I'm tending to the reaction or to the situation. When I pretend, I'm just doing it in advance. So when I'm pretending, I'm actually just showing up into a situation. I'm tending to it.
That's
It's so funny how words are set
right.
up, right? It's
Because we're taught pretend is not real.
Yeah, pretend is real. It's like I'm dealing with it. Like if like here's what pretend is in professional sports. Okay, visualize the
Practice.
hoop. Visualize.
Okay, yeah.
Visualizing is pretending, and we know scientifically that works.
Right.
So why don't we do that in our lives? Because it's not real.
Right. It's like that's a bad word. It's like don't pretend. Like reality is the only thing that's real.
Okay, now here's how it's manipulated. We have a certain amount of emotion that we use and invest in creating something, right? If that's something, and once we have that emotion used up, we have it used up, our creative energy, and then we have to recycle it somehow. We have to tend to it, right? because we have been pretending. Well, one of the ways it's used is that same emotion goes into watching a movie.
Yes,
So when we watch a movie, it takes away our creative energy.
it's a
And people
vacuum.
are like, no, but it makes me feel so good. There's no movie that will make you feel as good as living the life that the movie is talking about.
It's you are a passive observer when you're watching a movie. They've determined what you're seeing, they've determined what you're hearing, and from that they can manipulate your thoughts and your emotions in the moment. And you're literally just a couch potato. You're laying back, not moving. This is essentially the
It is.
Matrix, right? This is like
It is.
you're one of those people that they're just siphoning off energy like a battery. That's what the whole metaphor of that movie
It
was,
is.
is that
I no longer see the woman in the red dress, or I no longer see the pixels. I just see the woman in the red dress. And because of that, it's funny because people always ask me to go watch movies or go watch a show, or have you watched this on Netflix? By the way, if you're out there and you're asking me that, you don't know me very well. I'm not going to watch anything. I don't care what it is, because I would rather have the experience than have the experience taken away from me. And the reason why I self-actualize and show up happy every day is because this is my movie. I leave this, and the crap that happens in my life in a good way, I'm like, you can't even make movies that show that stuff.
right. And that's why it's important to be in the present moment and be aware and be able to, going back to an hour ago, being able to process information through multiple lenses. And that like turns our life movie from a one-dimensional or two-dimensional scenario into high def, multiple perspectives. We get that throughout life through our capability to absorb more information in the present moment.
And
And that's
we get it
but
through we get the opportunity to do that when we live in community
right. There's reflections.
all the time. If you want to see drama, you want to see adventure, you want to see sadness or a horror picture sometimes, you just come out. I mean, it's all around me every day. I mean, and the thing is that the movie is like a pharmaceutical. It gives me the drug release without the reinforcement, which creates side effects in my life.
And that's why we're so addicted as a society, just as people, to watching reality TV, because it's giving us that community scenario that we belong in. That's our nature, right? Like if you look into nature, you'll see like wolves are pack animals. They live within communities. So do like even insects like ants are very social, and we are as well. So it's like if we were to take an ant or a dog, which we do, and we just put it into a house all by itself. It wouldn't really it would live its entire life without knowing that something's off. And it's off because it's separated from the other beings, the other reflections, as you just put it. And that's how life was meant for human beings.
Somebody said, yeah, but I would totally buy a ticket to watch the Gary show. And I'm like, that's what you're doing.
It's
Yeah,
happening
the
right now.
ticket's free of charge. Come along for the ride and experience it with us, because what we're doing is sharing experiences. We're not sharing a plot or an outcome. We're sharing the truth of the experience. So you get to live in it, because you take the experience away from this. It's not telling you, it's not narrating how you live through it. And you get to go and have those experiences or reflect on them in your community. That's what this is. That's why people are addicted to reality TV. It's just that reality TV is fake.
Right. It's it can happen in our life. We can live
Yeah.
a dramatic life filled with experiences and emotions and
Well, there's
challenges.
lots of drama around here. People are like relieving traumas and stuff like that. It's a little intense being around us at first. Lisa's chuckling here in the background. It's like if you haven't dealt with those emotions, you're gonna deal with them when you're around
Right.
us.
You don't have a choice.
Yeah. And you're there 24/7, so there's really no holding it.
Ra,
And
send
after you do those,
help.
blink twice if you need help. Yeah.
Yeah, but you know, it's been the most rewarding experience of my life because I instinctively knew that we're supposed to live in community, but I didn't like living in community because people didn't know how to set boundaries and they don't know what boundaries are, and they've lost the ways to show up, and that's what we've been building. We've been building this process for people to learn how to show up in a new way. And part of it is it's even like with you, with what you're doing. You come in, you spend time with us, and over time you go, okay, well, that's actually, that works for me. And I can bring part of that into my life. It's like training to live in a community. And that's why we have our centers here. We bring people in that are working with us, whether they're in our programs or supporting, because we want them to feel that experience, whether they live in our community or not. We want them to take the good parts and move into their community.
Right. Integration. We can
Yeah.
integrate at the level that makes sense for
There,
us. And you guys are at your level.
as I say, you have a you have a hard stop today, right?
Yeah, yeah. We can disconnect soon.
Okay, because I just want to be, I always want to be respectful. Speaking of boundaries, I just want to be respectful of you have a hard stop.
Yeah. So I think that's a good time. It's been a good time here, and I appreciate these conversations. They're super fun. Look forward to them. Lisa, see you later. I'll see you soon,
She's
hopefully.
blinking a lot. I don't know what that means.
All right, Gary.
Okay, yeah, and more reels, man. That last one is like, I don't know, 500,000. It's like, whoo. Yeah.
Yeah. This is where it's like, okay, I'm back in the groove of the Instagram thing. I kind of got out of it for a little bit, so I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, it was fun watching. It's fun watching all the comments, and because you bring such a unique and fresh perspective. I mean, thank you
Yeah.
for all you do.
Well, appreciate the reception and reflection. Bye, guys.
Take care, Ra.